others, we can't see others. So what do we do? What do we do? Do we give them 3 more minutes of grace so that we can proceed? Time is of essence. Precious, can we just give them?
Yes, let's give them some minutes. And so again,
Yeah,
some of the people that are in this class now have
yeah.
another lecture, Zoom app, and it's also fixed this time. So
This,
some people may not
this.
come.
Okay, this time again. Hey, yeah, because that's
Yes,
11.
even
That's
if
10
I have
o'clock.
class.
Okay. Ah, what a class, yo. Mr. Segun, are you there? Sorry, sorry. Maybe by next week, we're going to. So what do we do?
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Yeah, what do we do? They said there is
Yes,
a
I
class
think
of.
let's just exercise patience for some minutes because all the students are aware that the lecture will hold by 3 p.m. today, and nobody complained that they have another class. So let's just exercise patience, and the lecture will be recorded, so they can those that miss the
Okay.
lecture can click on
Can
the
you
Zoom
see?
YouTube link to view the recorded
Okay, to
version
listen
later.
is
Yes, sir.
is all right. So we can give them about 5 minutes of grace.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you
sir.
so
Yes,
much.
okay,
So
sir.
you're welcome. Okay, we are waiting for others to join. By 3:15, we will start the class by the grace of God. So just exercise patience. We'll wait for a minute more. All right. Thank you. You can kindly mute your mic. Precious, mute your mic and others too. Can you please mute your mic so that you can hear me well? I want to thank you. Thank you so much. And I want to appreciate you for taking your time to be part of this meeting once again. I want to believe you've been able to revise what we covered last week, and I want to believe you understood some of the tips of what we discussed last week. So we are moving straight to remember. Let me just recall that last week we introduced ourselves to the course, social welfare, what the social welfare is all about, the social welfare services that we have, and as well what social development entails. And this took us to social security, where we talked about social insurance, public assistance, and so on and so forth. And we stopped at social policy. I briefly dwell on the social policy, where I explain that social policy means an action plan of government that is directed toward a given end. You may want to know more about social policy, but before you understand what the social policy actually entails, you need to know the exact definition or the all-encompassing definition of social welfare, which I believe I touched briefly when we started last week. But to broaden your knowledge on social welfare, I quickly refer you to the United Nations definition that was given in 1967 about what social welfare is. There are many definitions. So many definitions abound about what social welfare is, but I find this very useful. That is why I'm bringing that one in. And It is defined as a body of activities designed to enable individuals, families, groups, and communities to cope with the social problems of changing conditions. But in addition to and extending beyond the range of its responsibilities for specific services, social welfare has a further function within the broad area of country social development. Remember, we try to relate social welfare with social development. That is, social welfare is embedded in social development because development is all encompassing. And in this larger sense, social welfare to play a major role in contributing to the effective mobilization and deployment of human and material resources of the country to deal successfully with the social requirement of change, thereby participating in nation building. That is, when you talk about social welfare, and when the social welfare is well entrenched in any system, the meaning is that nation building is at the focus. That is, we have national development. Remember that social welfare are programs that are designed to better the lot of the people in the country or in a nation or in the society. When such is done, then there will be development. And when we have social development, definitely that will contribute meaningfully to nation building. And what we will have is a developed nation. Like we have some other we have the advanced countries that will have all around the world that will always desire to go as we have a Japan syndrome these days because they have a well-developed economy and a well-developed social system. This is just to broaden what you already know about the social welfare. There are so many definitions, and you also need to know that social welfare seeks to enhance the social functioning of all age groups, both rich and poor. So it is the goal of social welfare, again, to fulfill the social, financial, health, and recreation requirements of all individuals in the society. And in a state, you need to know that research has consistently shown that the extent to which a state performs its social welfare functions will determine the extent of stability of such states. Look at what is happening in Nigeria. Because our social system is not well developed. That is why the instability is being recorded in Nigeria. That is, the state is not stable. Nigeria is not a stable country. You don't have stable economy. You don't have stable employment system, and so on and so on. So many things. We lack so many things. And the level at which citizens accept the legitimacy of government authority to lead. Let me take that again so that you can understand the essence, the purpose, and the significance of social welfare. I said the social where the extent to which a state performs its social welfare functions determine the extent of stability of such state. Because if the social welfare functions are not well implemented, or programs are not well implemented, such a state will be unstable. So, and the level at which citizens accept, that also determines the level at which citizens also accept the legitimacy of such a government. Look at what is happening now, the removal of all subsidy. Look at the social problems that has created. So you ask any person now, what is veil? Is feel what has been the consequence. You don't need to even tell anybody the consequence, or to even preach to anybody, or to even explain to anyone the consequence of a subsidy removal. The attendant increase in fuel price, inflation, and so many other things followed immediately. There was a removal of subsidy by the government. You can also see the effect on our social functioning. So programs that are put in place by the federal government to mitigate or even to ensure that the effect of the removal of subsidy will not be felt by us. The effect will not be too much on us. Led the federal government to having what we call palliatives, having what we call social protection programs, having all other things, measures to ensure that the effect is not all that hard on the citizenry. Government officials at the federal level, I think they have been given 35,000 or 25,000 naira as palliatives, just to ensure that the effect is mitigated. But as can that actually solve the social problem, the removal of the subsidy or the increase in the fuel pump price has caused? So these are some of the things that are related to social welfare system or social welfare functioning under a government. So that being that, you also need to know the social welfare policy, where what we're going to discuss today, at least to some extent. And under this, like I told you that day, what the policy of government is, or what the policy is just like an action plan of government that the action plan of government that is to be implemented, giving some measures, strategies to adopt, and they are designed purposely to achieve they are designed to achieve some goals and specific objectives. Just like we have definitions under social welfare, the policy as a concept also has several definitions. But I will not want to bore you with so much definition, but you just need to know that social policy is government program of action for redistributing resources to those largely marginalized in the economic system. Otherwise, if resources are well distributed, there will be no need for social policy. But because there is an obvious inequality in the society, we have the have and the have-nots. We have the rich and the poor. We have the high and the low. We have the educated, we have uneducated. We have able, we have disabled. We have so many people like that. We have the advantaged ones and we have the disadvantaged one. We have people that are well-to-do, and we have people that are vulnerable, that need our assistance. And we also have population that are at risk. So in this case, you need to know that policies are also designed to govern inter-societal relationship and the quality of life and level of well-being in the society. This includes principal courses of action to be adopted and pursued by government or society, as well as various units within that society. Social welfare may also be defined as any government social welfare action that is defined and supported by a legislation for the purpose of improving the living condition of people. That is very important. They are programs that are designed for the purpose of improving the living conditions of people, addressing poverty or material deprivation, redressing perceived or real economic marginalization in a country, or setting agenda for sustainable human development that has local or global coverage. What we are saying here is such policies are designed to improve the living condition of people. When such policies are designed, when we have such policy, they are social welfare policy, because they are designed, or they are designed to be implemented to improve the living condition of people. I need to raise people from a particular ladder of development to another, to a higher ladder of development. Most policies that are usually made by the government or introduced by the international community are usually targeted at addressing problems of poverty, epidemics, refugee crisis, and so on and so forth. The policies are also meant to lift a larger number of poor people to a higher level of economic well-being. All this, I think I explained last week when we had the opportunity of meeting. Because whatever policy that are meant to lift a larger number of poor people from poverty to a higher level of economic well-being is a social welfare policy, or they are social welfare policies. That was what took me to the idea of you, to giving you that assignment to go and read about National Social Protection Policy. I wouldn't know whether you have gone through or you have not gone through. I also asked you to also check what we have in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended in 1999. I wouldn't know whether you have gone through or you have not gone through. But you have not gone through, you need to go through, and I need to have feedback on them while the lecture lasts. So please just put it in mind. Put it in mind. Accordingly, there are social welfare services in Nigeria that are run by family system, voluntary agencies, government. The voluntary agencies, like I said the other time, that will include the religious organizations, missionary international agencies, and so on and so forth. The example of social welfare policies, like I read to you the other time, we go have on healthcare, on empowerment, housing, and all other things that are geared toward assisting the poor, the unemployed, the marginalized in the society. Don't forget that all these people are mentioned, the poor, the unemployed, the marginalized, they are all vulnerable. They are all vulnerable. Essentially, you should know that the main goal of social welfare policy is to protect individuals from poverty and relative deprivation at minimum, and habitually, policy is aimed at providing the general welfare and well-being of the population. The National Social Protection policy that I asked you to go through is an umbrella policy framework, like I told you that day, that incorporates a related social agenda intended to reduce poverty and provide a life of dignity for all citizens. Don't forget, we are not equal. But when such policy is put in place, is to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor, at least to some extent, depending on the implementation strategies that are adopted. So that is when we can now determine whether that gap has been bridged or not. But when the gap is widening, that is when government will come in and put in place and that is when government just came in to put in place this National Social Protection Policy. The extent to which that works is another thing, is another discourse in another time. But all I know is the intent or the purpose, the aim of putting in place the National Social Protection Policy in Nigeria as an umbrella policy framework to address the issue of poverty and to provide a life of dignity for all citizens is a document that we feel will address all these issues holistically. That is why everything that is in that document is related to development. Just like we have that, we have other policies like youth policy, gender policy, child right policy, and so on and so forth. All these are taken as blueprints that are used to carry out social services that government think will actually mitigate poverty and reduce the suffering of the vulnerable in the society. So we need to know, or we need to note all this so that you know why the social welfare policies are put in place. Why they are put in place. Last time, maybe before I go to that, last time you remember, I also talk about, I think we stop at the social security, we stop at social policy, and we never reach the aims of social services. But before we do that, also remind you that we have the policy that address community development. We have policy that address women and development, youth. I've mentioned that, sports, disaster management, and so on and so forth. For instance, when there was a disaster, maybe building collapse, that is a disaster. People that are affected, already those people, the victims of the collapse, of the building collapse, their population at risk. At such time, the people in that environment, all of them, they are at risk. That is, they are at danger. So for somebody that asked about the difference between vulnerable and the population at risk, you can see the difference. If you look at the children that are born in the IDP camps, that is internally displaced persons camps, those children, they are population at risk as well, because they are exposed to danger. Their education will be affected, their welfare, their total welfare will also be affected. So those children are population at risk because their life is in danger. Their future is not guaranteed because those children will be raised at the IDP camps, not their normal homes. They are already displaced. Even their father, their mothers, the elderly in the ID camps too, they are also population at risk. The entire population within the northeast region of Nigeria, where the Boko Haram is actually making its influence, you see those areas, they are all at risk. That is where we have where this Boko Haram terrorism or the terrorism in particular, the Boko Haram terrorism in that area, all the areas, all the people, the population in that area, they are at risk. If you go to the northwest too, Zamfara, etc., Zamfara, Katsina, etc., that axis up to Kebbi, you see there this armed banditry. The population there, either the children or the women, or even the elderly, they are all at risk, even the youth, because the youth stand at risk of being initiated into the terrorism or into banditry. They are prone to be part or to join that bad group. They are prone to join that terrorist group because they are from that environment. They are population at risk. So what are the functions of social welfare policy? Social welfare policy is usually designed to address social problems of society. I explained that. It is meant to redistribute social, it is meant to also redistribute societal resources to those who ordinarily will not get the resources if policies are not in place. If policies are not in place, ordinarily they will not get it. Look at the conditional cash transfer I told you about. Every state is benefiting from this. If an individual meets the criteria to be on the social register, and such a person is lucky to be classified following the criteria as vulnerable, as eligible to get that benefit or to get that conditional, to get that grant, such a person will be getting it as it is stated in the policy. So if anywhere in the country, but if that policy is not there, it's not in place, definitely those ones will be neglected. So it will now be a matter of who knows who. So it will just be distributed in Abuja to those, their friends, their state of origin, their native land, their village men and women, their kinsmen, and so on and so forth. But because of the policy in place, the resources are well redistributed to a certain extent. Extent to which that has been achieved is another thing. Extent to which that claim is true, that is another discourse at another time. It is meant to also erase social inequalities in access to education, health, economy, urban space. The IDP camps that we have, they have a policy, they have policy governing the operation of those IDP camps. You remember during COVID-19, if you remember that minister that said the minister, I wouldn't know whether it's the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs then. The Minister of Humanitarian said that they were feeding the school pupils during COVID-19. You know, it called for condemnation and so on and so forth from the newspaper, media trial and everything for the minister, because the minister said they were feeding school pupils during COVID-19 when everybody was at home. You see, it's quite unbelievable. But that is not what we are saying, because the government meant well, or the government means well for those that are in the IDP camps, for those that are vulnerable at the time, because they are not at home. The children in the IDP camps are given special treatment following the policy that has been designed to take care of them. Otherwise, that wouldn't have come into being. Then it is also designed to cater for the right of special populations in the society. Who are the special populations? When we talk about special population, we are talking about the children, older persons, motherless babies, orphans, people with disabilities, the displaced, refugees, immigrants. Essentially, we are talking about those that are vulnerable to poverty, vulnerable to all other forms of social problems. So these are special populations that we need to take care of. You know, during wars, it is by convention. They don't attack or they don't kill women, they don't kill children, and they don't kill the elderly. Just like that, because of the convention, they must not do it. When they do it, they have violated the rules of the game. So these are special people that must be taken care of. That is why the social welfare policy are designed to cater for them. It is also to restore hope in those affected by natural disasters or economic policies of government, like privatization policy or regulation policy leading to oil subsidy. You know, the oil subsidy, removal of oil subsidy now. Who are those that are hardest hit? Because government consider the workers, that the worker will be affected, that they need to put in place palliative for them, so that to enhance their movement, to enhance their welfare. Because as a result of removal of oil subsidy, the prices of goods will have gone up, the transportation fare will have gone up, all other things will have skyrocketed. And when such happened, the government felt a way to alleviate that, a way to mitigate the pain, is to do what? Is to add palliative of 35,000 naira for federal worker, while they leave other state government to decide what to do. Some states are paying 25,000 naira for the first 6 months, and some states are paying 15,000 naira. I know your state is paying 25,000 naira, or some state is paying 15,000 naira to its workers. And they are also paying to their pensioners as well. That is a way of mitigating that. It's as a result of social welfare policy put in place by the federal government. So we'll talk about the mitigation strategy put in place as a result of the consequences of COVID-19. You know, we talk about NCARES, Nigeria, whatever, the NCARES. I hope you have heard about NCARES. Each state also had such state cares. If it is also cares. Nigeria COVID-19, the NCARE, I told you, the Nigeria COVID-19 Action Recovery and Economic Stimulus. The federal government instituted that as a result of COVID-19. That is a form of social welfare policy. Then it is also designed to cushion the negative impacts of epidemics and pandemics from society and protect the future of our incoming generations. Like we have immunization strategy policy for 0 to 5 years old to be vaccinated against these these regular diseases, the common diseases that we have, like measles, 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 and so on and so forth. Measles and so on and so forth, and vaccination against COVID-19, and so on and so forth. So essentially, I only tried to let you know what the social welfare policy actually, what it does, and the functions it performs. So I want to believe you will have gained one or two things from there. So before we move forward, last week I gave you an assignment on Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Specifically, I asked you to read chapter 2 of the Constitution. Has anybody been able to go through? If you have done that, can you let me know so that you can briefly talk about it? Yes. Hello? Okay, nobody is talking. Hello, can you hear me?
So we
I
can
want to
hear
know
you.
if you are still with me.
We are here.
Okay. I hope I'm not too fast today. Am I moving at your pace? At your pace? Hello, can I get a response?
Yes, sir. You are fast, but not like last week.
Okay, who has just spoken? Is that Okoye? No, not like last week. Okay, it's all right. Thank you. I don't know if you have actually if you have been able to go to check the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria I told you about. I wouldn't know if you have done that. I don't know. Has anybody done that?
Mm, sir,
Not
not
really.
really. I just glanced through. Let me not lie. I just glanced through. Not really.
That's great. That's great. Okay. Thank you. No, wala. Anyway, let me quickly introduce you to that, because I want you to go through so that you can understand it. So that you can understand it. I wouldn't know whether you people are seeing my screen. Can you see the screen I'm sharing? Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You can see the screen. Okay. I will come back to it later. So quickly, if you check the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended 1999, you check you go to chapter 2. You can search for this in your in the internet, and you can just get it. You don't need to look for the hard copy. You can just search Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So when you go to chapter 2 talks about fundamental objectives and directive principle of state policy. That is the chapter that addresses social welfare in Nigeria. If you remember, I told you that chapter is not justifiable. That is, you cannot just contest that chapter in court. You can't go to court and you can't take government to court and say, government, you have not done this. You can see it has never happened. You can't take government to court and say, on education, you have not provided enough schools in our community or in our state. It's not possible. Even in the state, you can't take government to court and say, no, compel this federal government to establish a federal university in my community. It's not possible, because that chapter, it is stated in that chapter that all provisions, all sections in that chapter are not justifiable. You cannot just justiciable that. You cannot just go to court and be contesting. So checking section 14, subsection 2b, it states that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. Can you see that? It's broad. The security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. You know, government always claims this, that the security and welfare of the people, I'm ready. Anybody that is campaigning will say, I'm ready to ensure that your security and welfare is guaranteed. That is what they did, because they will tell you that this is the primary responsibility of the government. And have they been doing that? Section 16b, subsection 12d states that suitable and adequate shelter, suitable and adequate food, reasonable national minimum living wage, old age care and pensions, and unemployment, sick benefits, and welfare of the disabled will be taken care of. That is section 16b, 12 subsection, and also section 12d. Section 17b, with subsection A, C, D, F, G, and H, is about social welfare completely. Please go and read them up so that that can be can make you understand well what we are discussing about the social welfare. There's no way you don't need this document. Even if you are practicing, you need all these documents for you to understand what you are professing. Yeah. The National Social Protection Policy, as the second one I gave to you to check, the goal, you know, I explained briefly that the goal is to establish a gender-sensitive and age-appropriate framework to ensure a minimum social protection floor for all Nigerian citizens for a life of dignity. You remember how we define social welfare using the United Nations standard. Don't forget, the United Nations mentioned that we're going to redistribute resources to ensure that everybody, every individual, lives a life of dignity. So the policy aims at the attainment of the goal by providing guidelines for acceptable platform of social protection activities, effective resource mobilization, resource management, and sustainability, awareness creation, advocacy, and mobilization of support for social protection as a viable development framework. Viable development framework. That is the goal. To attain that goal, the policy aims at that. Specifically, the policy intends to achieve the following objectives. 1, reduce poverty among the people vulnerable to being poor. Like I told you about the conditional cash transfer and all other programs, packages that are related to that conditional cash transfer. Recently, the beneficiary have been given their ATM cards for them to access funds that will be given by the federal government every month. Perhaps I think it's 10,000, in some cases 5,000, in some cases 25,000, like that. That one, you know, is put in place because of the social protection policy that is in place. That one will reduce poverty. For those people, some people could not even earn 5,000 naira a month, but for them to be getting 5,000 naira or 10,000 naira a month as an additional thing to whatever they are doing, you know, that one will raise their living standard. Empower the poor and people vulnerable to economic shocks. They will empower the poor and people that are vulnerable to economic shocks, like we have today. Enhance human capital development to ensure life of dignity. When you do that to an individual, they are developed in a way. Certain aspects of their life become meaningful and they they tend to have a life of dignity as well. Provide guiding principles for managing social protection projects and programs. Promote social cohesion, equity, and inclusive growth. Ensure citizens have access to basic social services and infrastructure. That is talking about infrastructure now and services like health, National Health Insurance Scheme. This has been extended even to pensioners, has been extended to the public. That is, it has gone beyond government workers. Any individual, any willing individual, members of the public can also access that National Health Insurance Scheme. Ensure citizens have access to basic social services, like I said, provide social welfare and improve food security and nutrition. Ensure decent employment and sustainable livelihood. Protect individuals and households from shocks that can make them fall into extreme poverty. That is, you're preventing them from going into extreme poverty. You're preventing them from moving from frying pan to fire. Promote synergy and coordination among all social protection intervention agencies. That is why that National Social Protection policy is more all-encompassing, because all other social protection programs, schemes, and all of that, they are coordinated. They are brought together under one umbrella. So, and all of them, they are just sub program under that policy. Under that policy, there are sub programs, because it's so comprehensive that all the intervention agencies are also brought together to move as a team, so that their functions, their services, their programs will not be disintegrated in any way. So that is about that. But you also need to know that this particular policy, it depends. Like I told you the other time, they are reviewed either every 3 years or 5 years. But this one is the lifespan is just 3 years. One was actually formulated in 2017, review in 2021 again, and so I think it's 5 years. It's 5 years. This one is 5 years, and it's been reviewed again. We should be using the newest edition by now. So please find time to go through for you to understand more about this social welfare policy. Do we have questions on what I've just explained? Any question? So if there are no questions, we'll go straight to the aims of social work services. The aims of social work services. Because I wanted you to understand the social welfare policy very well. That was why I had to go over the details for you, so that you can grasp it very well and it will be of benefit to you while you are also practicing. Yes, we'll go to aims of social work services. If you can see my screen, can somebody just read what we have on the screen? Can any volunteer just read what we have on the screen? Anyone? You want me to call names?
You said the White House. I think from the White House, Washington.
Yeah. Thank you. Please
March
go ahead.
1st, 2024. All right. I am proud to recognize this March as Social Work Month. As the father of social worker, I know that this profession is more than what you do. It's who you are. Social workers are an essential part of our workforce. Whether these highly trained professionals are responding to crises, helping people cope with post-traumatic stress disorder, contributing to social policies that move our country forward, or supporting those who are navigating life's most vulnerable moments. Social workers are always there for us when we need them. As president, I am committed to empowering our nation's social workers and providing them with the tools and resources they need.
Thank you.
Tools and resources they need to succeed.
Yeah, thank you. We can just we can stop at that, and that is a statement from the President of America. I think you can see, if you look at it, is from the White House, and that summarizes the role of social workers, isn't it? If you look at all he has stated, that is the function of a social worker. So when you know the role of the function of social workers, then you know what are the aims of social work services. You can see, as stated in that statement, many roles are stated there. And we can understand from that perspective that social work is a profession on which a set of perhaps on which this government or organization can achieve their policy goals that are called social welfare policies. Like Mr. President, the #1 citizen of America, just stated. He did this on March 1, 2024. Don't forget, we have talked about social welfare policy when well implemented determines the stability of the state, also determine the attention or the recognition even the people give to that government that it addresses the people's yearnings. So again, it means that social work helps government organization to accomplish policy goals that have been set, because all their goals actually rely on what? On social welfare. So social work involves knowledge, values, skills, which warrant that social workers are charged with the staffing of the formal social welfare system. Don't forget, Mr. President mentioned that social workers are always there for them. The social workers are always there for us when we need them, because they are the one who will navigate life's most vulnerable moments. This is credited to social workers. In other words, social work is the implementing arm for the accomplishment of the ideas of the social welfare provisions. We implement what they have in the policy for government to accomplish that goal. What do we do again? We also enhance problem solving and capacity of people to cope. The social work services will enhance problem solving and capacity of people to cope. It will also assist children, young people, adults with social problems. Don't forget, I read all those ones where we are talking about the social welfare policy and the function of social welfare policy, especially that of the National Social Protection Policy. Social work services also provide rehabilitation and reintegration services for individuals in prison, now called correctional homes, the physically challenged, the vulnerable persons, and their communities. Social work services also assist the community to initiate useful programs for people using available community resources. Don't forget, we talk about redistribution of community resources the other time. So when the social work services are well entrenched in a society, it will assist the community to initiate useful programs, because we want to guide people to know how to live a meaningful life. Services will also link people with systems that provide them with services, resources, and opportunities. Like I told you, it is work of the social worker. In fact, the social worker are involved in this conditional cash transfer that's by the federal government under the social protection policy. The social workers are the ones that are implementing the operation of this system. This also assists us in carrying out research, like case studies, survey, observation, and also field work. Contribute to the development and improvement of social policy, because social work services will also contribute to the development. Whatever you do now is part of development. Don't forget, where social welfare system is well established, is well implemented, the meaning is that such a society will be developed. Such a society will be developed to a level that will be that others that will be enviable, that others will want to look at it and say they would like to be like them, because they must have moved from a ladder to another level of development. What are the basic principles of social work? The individual is the primary concern of society, because when an individual is trained, when an individual is well, when an individual is socially stable, then we can say such a society is also stable. Remember that individuals constitute the society. So without an individual, there can't be any society. So formation of individual, the group of individuals you form a group, you understand that. And as a result of that, it becomes the society. So there is interdependence between individuals and society. Nobody can live as an island. Individuals have social responsibility to one another. As you have your social responsibility to some people, I also have my own social responsibility to some people. You have social responsibility with your family. You have social responsibility with the society where you live. You have social responsibility with your co-staff. You have social responsibility with your friends. You have social responsibility with your schoolmates, and so on and so forth. You cannot live, you cannot just be alone. You cannot be an island. There are human needs in each person, yet each person is essentially unique and different from others. Uniqueness of an individual. You know, in psychology, in developmental psychology, there's this uniqueness of an individual. For example, we always talk about individual differences. The way I perceive things will be different from the way you perceive. The way you speak will be different from the way I speak. In fact, our fingerprints, they are not the same. Our fingerprints are not the same. Like that, like that, like that. So there is that uniqueness of individual, and this is a principle that is well recognized in social work. You don't compare individual A to individual B. They are two different entities. They may be similar, but they are not the same. So we have had a number of situations which engineer social problems or social work or that cause for social work service, like the influx of refugees and internally displaced persons in many countries, even in many states in the northeast region of the country. Then we also talk about disaster management. Where a disaster occurs, what happens? There's need for there is need for intervention in that area. Where there is a building collapse, the National Emergency Management Agency will just swing into action, or the State Emergency Agency will swing into action to ensure that they rescue the victims of such collapse, and also ensure that the life and the property of those that are around them are safe and are secured. So all this will call for social work services, and this actually bring into place expansion of social welfare services, because when such occur, that is why they are emergency. If there is an attack of Boko Haram anywhere, where it happens, or there is an attack by armed bandits in any place in the northwest region of the country, that must actually attract certain reaction or intervention from the government. There is recently an increase in crime and juvenile delinquency. It could be as a result of so many factors: unemployment, drug or substance abuse. There is a need to provide social work correctional services within departments or ministries and family court and emergency court and so on and so forth. Because when this happens, it expands the coverage of the social welfare or social work services. Industry tools are also in need to provide their workers with services so that they have meaningful life at work through counseling, mentoring on their social or health-related problems. You know, we have industrial social workers as well, just like we have school social workers, we have medical social workers, we have community social workers, and so on and so forth. We have a wide range of social work services, just to ensure that we live a better life in our society. I will briefly touch social change, and I think we can now have an interaction on what we have just discussed. Briefly, social change. What is social change? As the names imply, it has to do with something that is entirely new in shape or form. That is entirely new in shape or form. You know, they say nothing is constant in this world except change, because the change will always come. If you in the morning, you may decide to take pap, you may decide to take rice and beans. In the afternoon, you may change to pounded yam. In the evening, you may change to another thing. You see, because there is change in time, there is change in period, you want to change your diet as well. So nothing is constant but change. So every time you have that change. The change we have during Buhari regime, I mean, is a civilian regime that ended last year, May, is different from the change we are experiencing now. There wasn't any renowned oil subsidy remover last year. The exchange rate was how much to a dollar? Naira, how much to a dollar last year? How much is it today? So these are changes that will have that will have their own attendant consequences, or that will have their own attendant effects. So social change means something that is totally different from its original form. It is the fundamental restructuring of the way members of a particular society relate and function in relation to another group. This simply means a variation from the former state or mode of existence, like I explained. When we have revolutions, war, natural disaster, Boko Haram attacks, and some others, this most often they lead to social change, and this must be addressed. Armed bandits attack a village today in Zamfara, and they raise the whole village to ashes. They even kill the head of the community. You see, that will engineer a change, and that will bring about a kind of social change in the lives of people that are involved, especially the inhabitants of that place. The victims' life will change socially. So revolution, natural disaster, and wars, this bring about the ordering of entire society, which is called social change. Some social change also leads to social problems, like a community or a village that is attacked, and the buildings, the entire village is affected, their buildings, their crops, their farmland, everything are destroyed, there will be social problems. Number one, there will be no setup for them where they can live in. Their means of livelihood, their work will be affected. So unemployment, so they will not have food to eat because they can't work. All their properties will be affected. Economically, there will be change. So that will be a problem for them. So they need intervention. They need support of the government. They need social welfare programs to address their problems. The interest of social workers is social change. Don't forget we are change agents. Do you know? Social workers are change agents. Because as time goes on, you adapt, you also change as there is change in the society. In those days, when technology has not developed as we have now, nobody thought about doing lecture via Zoom. But today we are doing it. Before, all of you will gather together and we'll put you in a classroom environment and we'll continue to teach using the conventional method to teach. But now it's through Zoom and it's even being recorded so that even if you miss a part of the lecture at your convenience, you can listen and understand what we have just discussed. So our interest is social change, and some of the social problems social workers deal with are normally as a result of natural occurrences, war, revolution, even artificial, just like the fuel or government policy, like the fuel subsidy or oil subsidy removal that we are experiencing the effect up to now in Nigeria. So because of that, we have that change in our lives, and there's need for us to adapt. How do we adapt to such change? This is where the social worker will come in and assist their client or the victim of such change, the people that are affected. They will assist them to live with that change, so that their life can be meaningful, so that their life can be satisfying, so that their dignity is not diminished in any way. That is the function of a social worker. So the essence of going into social work is to effect a positive change in the life of others. So when you do it, there are principles that will guide your action, there are principles that will guide how you also intervene in their plight or in their problems and how to assist them. I don't know. I think we are supposed to stop by 4:30. Perhaps we can have a break here, or we can have a pause at this point, and maybe at another class, we'll go forward to some other topics. If you have questions, comments, observations, I think you can. Yes, questions. Yes, I'm with you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, sir, please, when you were talking about the aims of social work services,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't get all. I got 3, though I know I was just hoping I can go back to the recording. That's why I don't really want to. But if you can,
Okay.
please. Yes. I think I
Okay.
just got 3 also.
Okay. Can you just give us those 3 you got?
Okay. You said provides rehabilitation for individuals,
Yeah.
then link people to services and resources,
Yes.
and assist community to initiate useful programs.
All
That was
right.
what I
Thank you.
got.
Yeah. That it also enhance problem solving and capacities of people to cope. Enhance problem solving and capacity of people to cope. Then assist children. Sorry, I know I will definitely share the material with you. As when I have the time, I will share the material with you so that you can also go through. But I've added some other thing into the materials, like the policy I was talking about the other time. Those are values I have added to the material. So assist children, young people, and adults with social problems. You can add that. Promote effective operation of the systems, and so on and so forth. I think with that, you must have gotten about 5 or 6 now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it also the social work services also it also contributes to the development and improvement of social policy. Okay, that's great. Any other question? Any other question? Don't forget that those that are the population that are at risk, they are also vulnerable. That is, they also need assistance. They also need support as well. That is why they are population at risk. In fact, their own need, it is important that their needs are also taken seriously, even more than those that are just vulnerable. Vulnerable only require our support and our assistance. And among those that are at risk, I think I explained them the other time. They are refugees, victims of disaster, either flood, fire, building collapse, wars, etc. Even the employees at high risk employment or factory or workplace. Then the vulnerable include youth, elderly, orphans, widows, fistula victims, rape victims, FGM victims, that is female genital mutilation victims, those that have been caught, the ladies that have been caught or the girls that are caught, pensioners, etc. As you can just think about them, they are just special population that need support and assistance under the social welfare system. Any other question? Any other question? So, this is exactly 21 minutes past 4. Just about 6 minutes past an hour that we started. I think we can put the class on hold and come back to meet next week by the special grace of Almighty God. So I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your attention and for being patient with me while I facilitated the class. Until another time when we have the opportunity of meeting again, I say bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you too.
Bye.